Hi, I'm Kale, and I'm a preacher's daughter.
And I'm Eden, and I'm also a preacher's daughter.
And this is Gay Girls, Good God.
Christian content from a queer perspective.
And if you're not watching on YouTube, today we are dressed in our Sunday best.
Listen, we have to. You always have to dress up when there's a baptism.
Always. Because especially if it's in a family, and if you're in a small town church like we were in mostly, everyone's related.
Girl,
so
everyone's related.
Every baptism is a huge deal.
Girl, it's this weird, like, cold. No,
we dove right to the episode.
We dove right to that. We gotta stop. We gotta pull back. Suffice to say, there is a very weird vibe that comes along with these families dominating the churches, because it's very much like, welcome home.
It's very midsummer.
It's very midsummer, very culty, very. It's everyone clapping when they come out of the water. Freaky, but also kind of like that's
absolutely.
That is the one thing that Protestants. Baptism is the one part of like Protestantism that is still kind of like a little bit archaic and cool, but they make it so lame by doing it in these plywood buildings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like jail.
And like the back of the, like behind the choir loft.
Yeah. In these fuck ass white robes. Like, mama, wear some red lingerie under it, so when you get wet. You know
I have to say my story that I have off of that.
I'm excited. Before we get ahead of ourselves, Sister
Absolutely.
Kale, can I ask you who you're praying for this week?
Oh my God, I have no idea.
None.
There's so much to be prayerful for.
There's on this praise giving.
Let's see. I am praying for all of the bitches who get sad in January, but like not in like a seasonal depression way, like in a more deeper way. You don't understand. It's not just the fact that it's getting darker. It's all of the symbolism and the meaning. Anyway,
those other people who have seasonal depression, like that's something lame and loser, and I don't have that. I just get really deep feelings of isolation and loneliness.
And January
decay.
just makes me think about the cyclical pattern of life.
Girl, shut the hell up.
So anyway, we're almost there, bitches. The darkest weeks are over.
Praying for bitches with the seasonal affective disorder, for real.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
I think I'm praying for people. Hello, Jet.
Jet, our favorite slut.
To be clear, for anyone listening, Jet is a cat.
He is the counterpart to Benny, Benny and Jet, as we've been over. But he is a very slutty cat.
Yes, Benny is the butch lesbian. Jet is the manic pixie dream girl.
For sure. So yes, I'm praying for all the bitches with seasonal affective disorder. But as the sun is out more, you can always feel the burden lift a little bit.
Lift your spirits.
Yeah. Still January.
You know what? I think I am praying for anyone who is in a waiting period in their life. I think that this is something a lot of people struggle with. Everyone feels like they're waiting for something, but I feel like the really painful part isn't just that you're waiting for something, like that's whatever. The painful part is that you're aware that you can't just spend your life waiting for something, and like that can't be your meaning, because eventually it's going to be over, and then what else is supposed to be your meaning?
The idea of eventually it's going to be over is so January pilled for me.
Exactly. It's like when you're in school and you're waiting to be done with school, but then in the back of your head you're also like, but what do I do after that?
Yeah.
And then you get there and you're like, okay, well, my meeting was about finishing school. Now what is it? Or whatever.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm waiting to get to like a lot of surgeries so that I can quit my current job and move on to other things or go back to academia. And I'm struggling to like remind myself like my life can't be about getting to those points. My life needs to be about my life.
Right.
And we're going to get to those points when they happen, you know?
Yeah, just being, and I hate to bring this up again, but that is what mindfulness is all about.
Shut up.
Well, the other day you were talking about like different types of therapy, and you were talking about dialectical therapy.
Yes.
do I tell her it's all about mindfulness?
I know it's all about
mindfulness. How do I tell her it's all about mindfulness without it being a thing?
I know it's all about learning to.
I've done it.
It's all about learning to live your life as a mandala.
Yeah.
You make something beautiful just for it to be washed away, and you find the beauty in it regardless.
You simply like acknowledge it, and
Yes. However, I want to be happy right now. You know what I mean?
Give it to me now.
Give it to me now. I don't want to be mindful. I want to turn off my brain and go to sleep in my head.
And I was thinking about this also. The difference, it is so hard for me. It is so easy when I'm trying to be mindful to just start dissociating.
That's my problem. That's my problem. Is as bitches with BPD, dissociation is such second nature to us that it's like I need to be mindful because I'm distressed, and my brain is like, oh, you need to do the thing that you do when you're distressed. Literally.
But like the thing is, I'm in both situations. I'm just staring at the trees.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So what's the
I'm
difference?
considering the lilies.
Yeah.
Mama, that's... And I hate the way that TikTok and social media have flattened a lot of mental health terms, like hyperfixations, things like that. But like dissociation, I feel like is one of them, which to some extent it does mean to just kind of zone out or whatever. But it also means something like very different than that.
Oh, well, absolutely.
Which, and I feel like everyone's like, oh, dissociating. It's like, babe, no.
But in my specific version of dissociation, it was something I used to be like, to negate a situation that was happening, and so I would just be like, we're just gonna escape the moment, and I'd be doing that shit in public.
Well, that's what it is. That's what it is in the mental health context, is a
Yeah.
stress reaction.
Yeah.
Your brain has literally trained it. It's just a really mild version of what people with split personality disorder do.
Which is
It's just,
BPD.
Yes, BPD. BPD is just a really mild version of split personality disorder.
It's you being aware of the changes.
I remember telling my ex that one time, and he went, "Oh."
The
And I was
moment
like,
I learned that,
I'm gonna kill
the
myself.
moment I learned that, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense, because I was like, how do I not have split personality disorder? But like the only thing is that I didn't dissociate like
you can remember
in between. I can remember,
yeah. It's
like,
literally
yeah.
just like your body learns that like when its nervous system is activated and you're stressed, like, oop, pull
Not
yourself
here.
out. Not here.
This isn't
not here.
real. Hey,
look at me.
Not
Look at me.
real. Not real. Not real.
Not to get too deep on the pod. I was opening the podcast with a light rant on trauma, dissociation, and the ways that it like manifests in the body. Love that for us.
Yeah. So anyway.
So, Sister Kale, I have a question for you. Have you been bathed in his blood?
I have been washed in the blood of the Lamb.
You have been bathed
My
clean?
garments are spotless, and they are white as snow.
White as snow.
I've been washed in the
Made you
blood
white
of the
as
Lamb.
snow. Brittany Broski going, white as snow.
Snow.
Snow. If you have not guessed it already, today our topic is baptism. I will say we're doing a little bit more of a baptism rant. Sooner or later, I do want to go into like the history of baptism, like kind of the spiritual and cultural significance of it as a ritual, you know, the way it kind of manifests and operates in the modern Protestant community. But in this one, I wanted us to just have a little bit more of a hee-hee-ha-ha discussion about baptism.
We're gonna yap a
Yeah,
little bit.
we're gonna yap. We're gonna give the yap edition. Baptism. Yapper.
Baptism yapper.
Exactly. So, Sister Kale, I would like to start a little bit with kind of an overview of baptism, at least for us as Southern Baptists or
Right.
Non-denominational Baptists. So could you tell me a little bit about, pretend a listener has never even heard of baptism. Can you tell me a little bit about it in the Christian church?
So traditionally,
Mm-hmm.
I have a story.
Oh,
Traditionally, baptism is a visual announcement that you have accepted Christ into your life. That is, you are in VBS. You hear about the ABCs, and it's A, admit to God; B, believe that Jesus is the Son of God; and then C, confess.
Mm-hmm.
Baptism is your first act of confessing your faith in Jesus Christ. And that is supposed to be a metaphor for God literally washing you clean of, your sin and your flaws and imperfections.
Which is kind of cool when you think
And
about
it usually
it.
happens on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And
And crucially, for Protestants, the act of being baptized is not actually what makes you pure or clean. It is just a material,
Yes.
sign. It's to show
Right.
that you have been converted or whatever. Whereas with other denominations, it's more like the idea that, the act of baptism itself is important and integral to your, admission into the church, and things like
Yeah.
that.
And in most churches, be right up either behind or above the choir loft, there's a baptismal, and that is where you'll come down, the pastor, the youth pastor, whoever is the male spiritual leader in this person's life, usually a child.
Usually a child. I think it's important to say, usually a young child.
Young impressionable children, and they'll have a little thing, buried into baptism and then raised again.
A dingy little bathtub with jacuzzi jets sitting behind where the preacher... Usually. Oh. I'm so scared. Kale has been holding out on me. Listeners, when I told her that I wanted to talk about baptism, she said, did I ever tell you how I was baptized? And I said, no. And she said, oh. So you know what? Let's skip ahead. Kale, would you please tell us your baptism story?
Okay, for context. I accepted Christ into my heart, quote, 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 at the crisp age of 5 years old.
Stop! You said, so I just learned that there are 7 continents.
No, I just learned about hell.
I feel like that's very important. You
Yeah.
said, I'm saved.
I was listening to, what was his name?
A.W. Tozer.
He started with an A. Andy
Warhol.
He was a pastor. He was an evangelical pastor who Andy something.
Mm-hmm.
But we were in the parking lot of what is now Golden Corral.
Stop. We were in the parking lot of what now became Golden Corral down at the Hattiesburg, just so you know what we're talking about.
And he was talking about, hell and the eternal separation from all those you love. And I was like, Mom, Dad, I want to ask Jesus into my heart. And
by the way, just learn what a heart was.
Just still felt that it was somewhere that you just physically lived.
Yeah. We got a little penthouse in there.
Yeah.
Said, I should visit Kale's heart for the summer. I hear it's nice this time of year.
Yeah. And so and this is in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And so I accepted Christ, around June of 2005. In August of 2005, something happened called Hurricane Katrina.
You may have heard of it.
And
Friend of the pod, Hurricane
Hurricane Katrina. And Katrina passed, the eye of Katrina passed right over it passed over my house, it passed over Petal, and it destroyed the sanctuary of our church.
Mm-hmm.
Only the Family Life Center was left.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were after that, everything got put on hold for a while they figured out what was going on. We started having services in the fellowship hall. So, half of it was a gymnasium with, basketball goals, and,
yes.
We had to pull the chairs out and everything. And so they finally decided how they were going to do baptisms. So I was baptized with my brother the same year. We were the first baptism after the church was destroyed in a rubber swimming pool.
Wait, like a kiddie pool?
A kiddie pool. It was about 4 feet deep.
Girl.
And my brother and I said, it would be so funny. Whenever. Because our dad baptized us because he was a youth pastor.
Uh-huh.
We're going to doggy paddle. So...
Why have you always been like this? Why have you always...
So we doggy paddled to our dad to baptize us. 5 and 6
I'm ready to be safe for eternity.
Paddling our way to eternal glory.
Paddling. Doggy paddling through the water that will wash you clean of eternal sin. That is so Kale-coded. This tub will wash you clean and bring you closer to God. Okay, you're literally... Okay. That's so you, and that's so funny. But also, I feel like that emphasizes you were a fucking child. You were a child. You were like, it'd be funny if we doggy paddle. Being like, I have accepted Christ into my heart. I'm a doggy paddle over. What? What are we doing? Christians are like, her. She knows. God is working in her.
Audience.
Yeah, literally. I shouldn't say that. No, I will. Because only a 5-year-old would be able to fucking believe that, that's it, Mama. And only after you've been conditioned into it that young.
That's why I'm making it such a big deal that you do it before because if you wait until you're too old, the chances of you becoming a Christian are so slim. I wonder the fuck why.
I wonder the fuck why. That was me. This kind of brings me to one of the first major things I want to kind of talk about, which is that baptism in the Protestant community almost creates a very clear 2-tier system of church members, because integral to Protestant Christianity is the idea of the conversion. Mm-hmm. You have the time before you came to know Christ, and then because the Protestant religion emphasizes so strongly your personal relationship with God, you have the time after you as a person chose to change and were God's glory shone upon you and you came to know Christ.
The death of yourself.
Yes, exactly. The rebirth, which is what baptism is supposed to represent. Mm-hmm. And so there is very much as someone who was never baptized, and I was never baptized. This is kind of what I want to talk about. It's crazy. Because from a very young age, I was so desperate and afraid and aware of the idea that I was unsaved, and yet I could not let myself lie about it, because I was like, Jesus, if you're there, why do I feel alone in this room?
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Staying up at night, crying, praying, trying to hear him, being so aware of the fact that I did not feel anything that I could call God, but also intellectually believing that he existed and being scared, like, for my life of hell and also of the social repercussions of being an unsaved pastor's kid.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Because by the time I got to be like 13, 14 or whatever, it was like,
but
girl.
Also, your parents wanted you to wait till y'all were a little bit, till y'all understood.
Yes.
And that was the thing. My parents didn't give a shit. And so I knew that I'd been baptized, but my whole life, that's where like the feeling of being a fraud comes from. Because I knew that I'd been baptized. I had made this public declaration, but I was like, I'm not saved.
See, I think this is actually an important distinction because you feel like you're a fraud in your like morality or identity or like group membership, whereas I feel like I'm trying to get in but can't. You know what I mean? It's like you see what I'm saying? Like flip sides of the same coin.
We're on the other side of the glass, like beating on the other side.
Yeah. And that's where we're boom, 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 boom. There's a fire. Like,
I didn't know where you were going with that.
So I feel like that really shaped a lot of my like. But yeah, my parents. I think one thing I always say, my father. I don't believe in God as Christians describe him. I don't believe in Christianity. But if I did, I would very much agree with almost all of my father's interpretations of the Bible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think theologically, his ideas are very sound. And one of them that he stuck to pretty hard was like, no one should be getting baptized unless like the pastor has conversations with them and like meets with them and stuff and feels like they actually understand what it is they're saying. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because there was one time that someone like professed their faith or whatever, and my dad was meeting with them and he was like, I don't feel comfortable baptizing you, which was a whole thing.
Oh my God.
Right? Because like Baptists are all about just like baptize everyone.
They're
everyone.
Baptists.
They're Baptists. That's what they do.
Jesus
it's kind
Christ.
of like their brand.
Yeah.
So, but for him, like he really took it seriously. And
Your
so,
dad's not a Baptist, he's a Calvinist.
Exactly. As a young kid, I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't have to worry about that like until I'm older. But then as I got older it was like, oh no. And then my older sister got baptized and I was like, oh. And then my other older sister got baptized and I was like, oh shit.
And then your younger brother got baptized?
I don't know if he did.
Oh.
I can't remember. Don't do drugs, kids. I can't remember a lot of things. But I do know that like by the time I was like, before I had come out, I was like halfway through high school. I was like, I had already decided I didn't believe in God. I was like, shit, I guess this is it, y'all. I guess I'm just out here. Because at that point it was like, I don't know what to do. You know?
Yeah.
It's so weird. People will look at you when they know you're unsaved as if like, I don't know. It's very much a caste system. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And like for the people who take like the Lord's Supper seriously, you can't partake if you are not saved.
Which is another thing. It's very, whenever you have the Lord's Supper, which Lord's Supper like episode incoming.
Oh, absolutely.
Girl, it's almost like it's supposed to be communion. It's supposed to be like, you know, you drink this wine to symbolize the blood of Christ. You eat this like little saltine cracker to like represent the body of Christ.
And if you're real fancy, they'll have the loaf of bread and the wine.
Yup.
And that's usually Methodist though.
The Methodists, they get
Baptists
turned in
will
the...
not have alcohol because there's too many alcoholics in the room. They don't trust them.
Exactly. They go, glug, 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 glug. But it's very much like it says on the label that it's supposed to like bring the congregation together and renew your spirit and things. But functionally, a lot of what it is to say like who in the church is with God and who is not with God.
Oh, I have
sitting
a
in the
story.
pew while everyone goes up to take communion and you have to sit there. It's girl crazy.
Yeah. So I sang in a choir. This is not specific. This is Methodist content. We're gonna skip from the Southern Baptist because I sang for a Methodist choir in college for about 2 years. And
as you can tell,
because I still had to go to. Well, we wore robes.
Oh, period.
So
I want to see you in a robe
doing
Sister Act. Oh, Marie! I love that.
It was actually it was the choir that my college director did. So we always did like the real churchy shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the real like ancient church.
Killing
shit.
in the name of.
No, like Bach.
For a second, I said no, like a bop.
They were.
Shakira, you.
And they did several communions while I was there. And for the first bit, I always partook, but I always would notice it was usually grad students, and some of them wouldn't partake because like they were atheists.
And you noticed.
Fun fact: one of them is now married to a minister.
Hello?
And I feel so they just had a child, and oh, I feel so bad for her. Like, She was so desperate to be loved. That's another story.
Oh no, she just like me for real.
Yeah, that was the
Shut up.
That was but and then I remember I had that big dramatic moment in January of 2021, and then the next one I didn't partake. And that was the brave. That was the first moment. I was like, I gotta be brave, and that was like, I did it. I'm not a Christian anymore.
Yeah. And it holds such symbolic power. Mm-hmm. And before that point, you said even you like noticed who took it and who didn't. Is very much. That's why I think.
So I know people like we're gonna notice. That
Exactly.
I didn't.
One of my central, I guess, ideas is that baptism, just like communion, serves at like functionally within the community and within the religion as a way to differentiate between like the in-group and out-group, because everything about exclusion, oppression, systems of power is always going to define itself like smaller and smaller and smaller of the in-group. It's just like with racism, once you like it's always going to find a way to manifest. If you get rid of all of the dark-skinned people, then it's going to become about like hair color or like nose shape, and if you get rid of all of them, it's going to be about eye color. It just
made me think about the Reader's Theater. First
they came for the communists. Very that. But it's like, if you have a system of belief that is founded upon excluding people who you see as morally or ethically less than, and including and exalting those as you see as morally, spiritually, and ethically greater than, then even within that system in the church, you're going to have the people who are even greater than because they've actually been converted versus the people who haven't. And within that group, you're going to have the people who are even more like the missionaries, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it creates a hierarchy.
Yeah, and it's literally. You can see the career social climbers in the church too,
girl,
and they're the ones who like they whenever a young man who joined the church got baptized, it was always a rave.
It was like a thing. It was like, it's almost like it has these like creepy sexual undertones to it. It's like a virile young stag has entered the like. Oh my God.
He chose this. He loves God so much, he chose this over our boobies.
Oh, literally. That's the vibe. It's like, he could have been out there fucking young pussy.
Which makes you want him even more.
Mama.
In the church.
Mama. Exactly. Because all those old ladies are like, yeah. No.
Yeah.
I feel like Mariah Carey, all these bitches so obsessed.
Exactly. The butterfly headdress.
And also about the social climbers, I feel like we need to do an episode about church social climbers.
Yes.
But jumping forward, it's almost always women. Because when a man is social climbing, it's him being called to the ministry. But women aren't allowed to go in the ministry, so they're just any attempt to actually gain like influence or like help out or organize, it's them like not knowing their place.
That's so true.
Yeah, it's just misogyny.
Yeah.
That was my grandmother. My grandmother tried to be very active in her church and was very like influential, and the pastors got like intimidated and basically like had her driven out of her church.
That has happened a few times. Whenever I've been to all these different churches, there have been a few occasions where that's happened, and my grandfather's talked about ones that have happened in the past, and usually it's a children's director, which from what I've learned.
Yeah. And you know what, they'll run away a children's director for being too ambitious, but not for touching them kids.
Oh my god. And
so baptism.
Yeah, so baptism. I think it's weird the way, like, let's go back to the idea of it being children.
Okay.
And how almost like it's. Did you feel peer pressured did your dad? Okay, hang on. You didn't go to those churches. The story falls apart.
I felt, not only did I feel peer pressure,
but I'm talking about as a young child.
As soon as I was conscious, I was conscious of the fact that I was unsaved and needed to be saved. Yeah. Like my whole like history, my whole personal history, my whole set of memories have been defined by growing up under the idea that I am like outside of God's love. You know what I mean? And so...
Oh, yeah. Going back to the feeling, because I thought I was, but I thought I was a fraud.
Yeah. So, like, as a child, seeing some of my friends get baptized really young at, like, other churches and stuff, and seeing, like, other people get baptized, and seeing, like, my mom and dad being like, I cry and pray for you every night that you're not,
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah, girl. All the time. Of it just being like, oh, my, like, I'm awful. Why can't I just do this? Like, it was peer pressure, spiritual pressure, like... parental, familiar, like everything.
Yeah.
It was like my whole world felt like it was telling me I needed to do the one thing that I didn't feel like I could. and it made me feel ugh.
But at the same time, I feel like a common theme that I found, especially like in sermons or in Sunday school lessons, was the concept or the reminder that just because you're baptized, it doesn't mean you're not safe.
Yeah.
Like just because you're baptized doesn't mean you're saved. Like,
Backsliding.
Backsliding. We have a security thing because, believe it or not, I have this weird irrational fear of someone coming into my home.
I don't know why.
I don't know why. But every time we open this back door, it says sliding door. And I said to Eden casually one day, hey, every time this says backsliding door, I think of backslide. She's like, backsliding Christian.
Yes.
And it's just that was such a thing. And
huge.
but also like along the same line of just because your daddy's the pastor doesn't mean you're going to heaven.
Girl.
Just because you're baptized doesn't mean that your soul, going back to the panopticon, doesn't mean that it was like in your heart of heart, your heart of hearts.
Mm-hmm. Your heart of hearts, girl, the heart of hearts. That was I first of all, I hate that don't say that to kids. Don't say that to anybody. But also, second of all, that is very much related to the panopticon, I feel.
Yeah.
Like that we were talking about in the other episode, because baptism, the idea of the conversion, like those feelings that I felt as a child, it is very much this like tangible social ritual that reinforces the idea like everyone is watching you to determine like whether or not you have been saved or not, and also you need to be constantly interrogating yourself because God is watching you.
Yeah.
And like girl,
it's disgusting. And because of that, it kind of goes back to the also call back to the prayer meeting episode as well. As a kid, and especially as like someone who was still aware she was a young girl and there was only so much she could do and blah blah blah, my moment of being baptized was like, all eyes on me, all eyes on me. Like that was because I got saved. Like this is me sealing my eternity in heaven. You better fucking watch me get dunked in the swimming pool.
yeah,
Watch me doggy paddle back too.
Y'all see that shit? Y'all real good, huh?
Real good.
Yeah, all eyes on me playing while you doggy paddle as a 5-year-old.
After being baptized.
Exactly.
And then I went and got changed in the kitchen, in the pantry of the kitchen of the family life center.
That's so real. I feel like, I don't know, baptism is it's supposed to be this huge, beautiful thing or whatever. And I was also, as a kid, whenever I was watching it happen, always struck by like the anticlimax of it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like there'd be this whole big thing. The pastor would usually give a sermon.
Again.
Edging. The pastor would give a sermon about like the beauty of baptism and like what it means, and then like people would maybe give
there'd be special flowers out.
Yes, people would tell their conversion narrative. They would give their testimony. Yes. And then they would go up in front of the congregation and get dunked. It's the name of the Father, the Son,
the Holy Spirit, buried beneath the baptism and raised again with the Holy Spirit.
And the person going always trying to look graceful, never succeeding. Never. They always go, oh. Also,
it's
one
so
thing,
humbling.
So I would know. Life hack for people who actually have like who aren't doing it in a kiddie pool. A lot of baptismals have a little bar under it on the bottom, like a little loop for you to stick your feet under, so that when they dunk you, you just go down and your feet don't just like fly up into the air. Or at least I know one of our churches did, because one time a lady got baptized and her legs flew up in the air and her like in the robe came down and everybody was like, oh.
I will say
it was crazy.
So I got baptized in the kiddie pool, and then a couple years later in the church, they built this big, huge new sanctuary, the beautiful baptismal and everything. And I was like, God damn, I never got to be baptized in that baptismal. I only got baptized in a pool.
You're like, can I do it again?
Then
oh,
I was the drama director, and also like we didn't have enough people, so I was also in it. Well, no, I was in it, and then I was a drama director, but I still helped direct whenever I was in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, because I'm that bitch.
You're that girl. You're that girl that I knew you were.
But of course, I played the angel.
Of course.
And everything. And at the end of the musical, I would always go up to the baptismal at the end and go, on the last held note, I'd go in the baptismal and hold up my arms in my angel outfit while Jesus was Jesus would be with me too, my brother. My brother Jesus would be in the baptismal with me, holding our arms up at the end of the Easter play. And my grandfather was in front of us conducting, looking up at us. And of course we have those photos from every year.
And I would like to see it, and I would love to see it. That is so crazy to me.
Yeah, my brother Jesus beside me.
I feel like I had a lot more of like the musty, dusty, backwoods, Southern Gothic, like Christian plywood, dusty windows, you know, like whatever Christian Americana experience, and you had the like Jesus rap youth ministry, like 2000s.
We were very low, and like we were not.
It was low budget.
We were not the cool church in the town.
Yeah. But it was like contemporary Christianity.
Yeah.
That was trying to be like.
We had 2 services. Sometimes like there was only like 10 people in the first service, but that's where they did I played the piano in the first service.
Yeah, I played piano. Yeah, because like you. For just as an example, in my church, like my father thought it was blasphemous for anyone to like portray Jesus, so there were no Easter plays. We did not do that. It was like, we're not dressing up as Jesus. We are not acting out. He was like, we're not acting out the crucifixion. That's making a mockery.
What do you mean we're gonna act out the crucifixion?
Yeah, what do you mean someone's gonna be like, I'm Jesus. I'm Jesus fucking Christ, and I'm dying on the cross in the moment that defined all of human culture and spiritual truth.
Yeah, it was just my brother hanging up there with like slashes on his side, but I had like painted in lipstick that morning.
Lipstick?
And I'm backstage being like, go, Roman guards, go!
You with the Anastasia, like, Norvina palette, like, so we're gonna do the cuts. And like,
I'm gonna give you a black eye.
We're gonna... Hold still. Yeah, let's go tell them. Me being like, I'm straight. That was me doing theater in high school. Like, I was the only, like, quote-unquote boy who knew how to do makeup. And you have to do, you know, makeup for stage makeup. So every year my director would be like, all right, go teach all the boys how to do makeup. And I'd be like, okay, everybody, this is how you...
Everybody, this is blush.
All right, guys, so you're going to put the makeup on. Like, girl, too much. Why? I like girls. Which did, but no.
But also... I like what I am.
I am what I am.
No, I'm not straight. I'm a lesbian.
No. Not on the pod. Anyways. Baptism. Hey. Heyo. Hey. No, but yeah. My dad was a good VeggieTales. All that shit was very much like strict authoritarian, like, not even authoritarian, just like musty, dusty, crusty, like backwoods hillbilly.
My grandfather and my dad had just been like, oh, he wants it to be all about him and the preaching. They were very much like praise and worship equal time as much as like the sermon. Yeah.
And I think that's admirable.
No, yeah.
So as a result, not only did I have all these like cultural and media blind spots, because I grew up most of my life homeschooled without access to the internet, like in these Christian, like really not just Christian, but like conservative and isolationist like sects of Christianity. So now, like to this day, people will reference things or like talk about stuff and be like, "Oh, that's just like on Victorious," and I'm like, "What's that?"
It's best you don't know about Victorious.
Except
Jade and Beck.
Okay.
You've never seen about Elizabeth Gillis?
No, who's that?
The hot goth.
No. See, this is what I'm talking about.
Well, and see, this
Thank
was
you
planned.
for proving the point. This was planned. we knew it all along. Very bad. We're like really coordinated and a very well researched pod.
Yeah, for surezies.
Have you ever seen Letterkenny?
No. Or is that a Canada one?
Yes.
I've. Is it about border control? Like
No.
the Canada border?
No.
Oh, what is that?
I don't know. But fuck Border Patrol. Me and all my homies.
Fuck
Border Patrol. Abolish ICE. Me and all my homies hate ICE.
Except in the case of the Texas Border Control. In that case, fuck the Texas National Guard.
Period. Period.
Fuck Border Control in all
Death
cases
to America.
but that one.
Death to if you are a future person doing a background check because I'm applying for a government job, that was meant in humor. No,
this is all a joke. I'm willing to sell my soul for a job
for the sake
capitalism.
Of satire. Yeah, I want to be a forester. I want to work in the national parks.
I want to be a forest.
Because I want to be a forest. I am the forest, and I'm the forest fire.
I am the trees.
I am the tree. Mama, I'm everything.
Everything is all, as Space Dandy once said.
What were we talking about? Oh shit, baptism. So I don't know. Bringing it back around to a place of children. Mm-hmm. I think that another really insidious thing about the fact that there's so much pressure on children, well, to do it, it mostly like happens to children, is that they are the ones who are most susceptible to those feelings of exclusion and fear, and also they just want to fit in. Kids don't know who they are, and if you have something telling you like this is who you can be, this is who you are, and people will love you for it, of course they're going to take that option.
And also from like a brain development standpoint, to a certain extent, like if you are like molding a child's mind into believing in this, like if a child's mind is developing within a certain limitations, then it's gonna fuck with them into a way to where they feel like if they don't go through this process, like they are always going to be on the other side of the fence.
That's exactly how I felt.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I struggle with that to this day because it's like my most important years of socialization were defined by my feelings of like insufficiency and like self-hatred and exclusion, and it's like, girl, all of that over something made up. You know what I mean? Like, if we take ourselves out of Christianity for a second and think about this, it's like these are people who are mentally being put through hell. Like, all this anguish, there's all these power politics and exclusion, like, over whether or not they have, like, truly internalized whatever that means, some spirit that doesn't even exist. Yeah. What are we talking about? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy.
And I think, like, the way that we've talked about it, I feel like that is very true of the, like, the different types of, like, the gay experience from the church. Like, either you did do it as soon as possible because that's what you felt was safest, was to like immediately accept Christ, or like you never did, but you constantly feel like, oh my God, you always feel like you're on the side, like other side. So I feel like those are like sort of like the two categories that gay people like or queer people might fall into who grew up in the church.
While I'm hesitant to say that like I have always been trans because I'm not like I don't really believe in the kind of like born in the wrong body, like inherent to my spirit is its transness or whatever thing. However, I do feel like from a very young age, a lot of my queerness was defined by the fact that like I simply cannot choose to entirely assimilate. No matter how hard I tried, like it was never really an option for me to just choose to not be what I am. And I think that defines transness in a lot of ways separately from other forms of queerness, in that like if you are bisexual or homosexual or, you know, asexual or something like that, a lot of the times that is not necessarily visible, and even when it is not as inherently like it is not as grounded in your body. Let's say it's not an embodied identity, and so that affects how you like perceive the world, but it also affects how other people perceive your queerness. And so in things like Christian settings and with baptism, it makes it so much harder to convince yourself or accept the idea like, yes, I am a Christian, yes, I do feel God, like I'm gonna try and force myself to feel that, because it's more of just like my whole body felt like rejected the idea of aligning myself with this system that I knew was against who I was. You know, like I just could not do it no matter how bad I wanted to.
Interesting. Yeah. Yes, bitch.
Yeah, I'm gay. What can I say? The rumors are true.
No, I don't want to get the water.
No, you can't make me. You know what? I was scared of baptisms because I never took a bath from ages 0 to 12. I never once bathed.
What do you mean? Come on.
Well, it's called the crust and peel method. If you wash yourself, it gets rid of all of that built up natural dirt and dust and oil. If you don't wash yourself and you let it build up for a few months, you get this nice oily film that you can then crack around your scalp and then peel off in one big sheet, and you're perfectly clean. So
I'm
exfoliating.
Sure it's so satisfying.
So
too.
Satisfying. I do ASMR. Go check out my YouTube channel.
Crust and peel.
Crust and peel. You've heard of Jordan Peele.
Yeah,
now get ready for.
It's not Key and Peele. It's crust.
It's crust and peel.
Excellent.
Excellent. So that's baptism.
That's baptism.
From a baptized woman and a sinner.
A baptized fraud.
Do you ever think about that? That like you were baptized? Like,
well, see, to me, because after I became of age, I realized how I didn't understand what that was.
Yes.
And so I quickly became aware that so I'm gonna get saved on my own eventually, but I'm not gonna get baptized again. I'm just gonna let them think that was the real thing, because it would be too humiliating to get baptized again.
Yes.
And so I was like, and so that led, as I said before, I constantly prayed that prayer of salvation, because I was like, oh my God, if I can, I'll get it right this time. I swear.
I'll get it. I promise.
I promise. Even though I was like, my heart's gonna be fine this time.
What's that fucking song? The day the squirrel went berserk in the something Baptist church. And he goes, and we all got rebaptized whether we needed
revival.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
It's like we all got
Tim
rebaptized
Hawkins.
whether we needed it or not. That's so real.
Yeah.
People did get rebaptized though a lot at like my church.
Yeah, especially if you were Catholic.
Especially if you were Catholic.
Converted.
Yeah, and being like, I didn't actually like have a relationship with God, and now I know what it really means to be Christian. I was Catholic is like a dirty word.
It really is.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
The way they talk, because I didn't know any Catholics growing up. Because, like, where I'm from, there are no Catholics. And then I went to college and I met people who were Catholic or grew up Catholic, and I was like, So y'all don't have devil horns? What's going on? You know what I mean?
Speaking of like Catholics and baptism, do you remember when COVID happened? There was that video circulating of the
priest with the water gun. Yes. You've heard of an angel with a shotgun. Now get ready for priest with a water gun.
Incredible, and also that video of the baby knocking the Bible into the water.
Period. Period. I know the Antichrist, and she is a cunty little baby. Just slam dunk.
Also,
boom.
What was your father's opinions on like children, like baptisms, like christenings? Because that's sort of baptism
I
related.
thought they were stupid. Like he didn't even think anyone under the age of like 12 or 13 should get
Did y'all
baptized.
do baby dedications?
What the hell is that? And this baby is like a book dedication. This baby is dedicated to all you slutty bitches out there.
It was more like a thing for the it's like the Baptist alternative to christenings.
Yeah.
And it was more of like an oath the parents were taking to like dedicate themselves to until the baby was old enough to make their own decisions, to like train them up in the ways they should go.
Mm-hmm.
To train a child by Debbie Pearl.
Girl, don't. Her palpitations. Girl, that's crazy. We need to do several episodes on Christian parenting because that shit is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
That shit is crazy. The way... regardless. Before we move on to any other episodes, Kayla, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Who's the manic pixie and who's the butch lesbian of baptism?
I am gonna say... Ooh, hang on.
Right.
About this. Because I feel like you have an answer. I'm scared mine's not going to be the right answer. I would say that your dad is butch lesbian and my dad is manic pixie dream
I was
girl.
going to say the same thing. My dad's like, you have to boom, 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 whatever. And your dad's like, get in the water, doggy paddle. We're doing it in a little rubber tub.
Well, folks, you know how kids are.
I love that.
And this is the spirit God says, come to me. Jesus says, come to me, children.
That's the most Christian shit I heard all day. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I bet he did.
To me, children.
Come to...
Ooh. Sing! And as the boys cry,
That's how they get them to reach the high notes. I'm allowed to make that joke. Oh, I have another question for you, though, Sister Kale.
Yes.
Do you have a verse prepared for us today?
I do.
Sometimes the Bible looks like an ice cream sandwich to me. Is that just my fat ass? I'm looking at the Bible like... You know in cartoons when they're like on a boat and they're stuck out in the ocean and they look at each other and they turn into like a chicken?
Like in Madagascar,
Exactly.
where he looks at Marty.
Sometimes I'd be a little kid sitting in church, hungry, waiting for the potluck that happened after service, staring at the Bible being like...
The greatest thing in the world is whenever I knew the invitation prayer was also the blessing.
Oh, yes, bitch. Oh, yes, bitch. Oh, yes, bitch. Exactly.
And then, but we had to be the back of the line for the preacher's kids. But also, if I helped my grandpa put it out, to let me sneak some deviled eggs to put in the back.
I was a preacher's son in a former life. So I know this was very incumbent upon me, like, get at the back of the line also, but I feel like knowing you were, like, very competitive about it. Carrying chairs. We need the Olympic sport of Protestants carrying chairs in the fellowship hall. Girl, love that.
All right, Sister Eden. So today our verse is going to be coming from Matthew 6:16. And this goes out to all of my...
Here's that baby dedication.
I don't know. This is all the people whose parents tried to force an ED on them. Topical.
Real. Representation matters.
I have this is another highlighted one, but next to it I have LOL! Exclamation point. And it says, whenever you fast, don't be sad-faced like the hypocrites, for they make their faces unattractive, so their fasting is obvious to people.
Oh my god. ED Twitter would love this one.
Whenever you fast, don't be sad-faced like the hypocrites, for they make their faces unattractive, so their fasting is obvious to people. You better look like you're full.
You better fucking stand up straight.
That peanut is delectable. Don't let them know you're starving? Don't make unattractive faces.
Bitch, you know how people have like Bible verses in their bio? Someone on ED Twitter with that in their bio. You look it
Whenever
up.
you fast, don't be like that sad face like the
They're like
hypocrites.
tip number 1. Don't let people know you have an ED. Hide it. Don't look. Also, sad face. I think of the emoji. I'm hot. Bitch, stand up straight. Like, puff out your chest. Suck in your ways. Like.
You can't serve cunt with a sad face.
Kate, what, Mama? Nothing tastes as good as skinny
Skinny
feels, and you need to sell that idea. Mm-hmm. Pheromone, friend of the pod.
Synchronized pheromones.
Pheromones. Speaking of pheromones, hormones. I recently switched over to injections.
Oh,
and I am now on like
me saying oh like I didn't know that.
No, literally, I'm now on like week 3 or 4, I think, of injections, and I feel like I'm starting to feel a difference.
Oh,
I think that first of all, it's very convenient to not have to take like 3 pills a day or whatever,
Yeah.
like I was having.
You
to
can
on the
relax a little
tablets.
bit.
Literally, it's so weird, but also I don't know. I feel like it's giving me like it's starting to give me like a weekly cycle. I feel like by the end of it, when I haven't had estrogen in a while, I'm like, I'm falling apart. I'm annoyed. I'm like tired, and then I inject some estrogen, and the next day, which is today, I'm like, whoa, let's get it. Like it's
you
too
wake
much.
up.
Oh, like literally, I'm Snow White in this bitch. You know.
Well, that's good for you.
Good for me. What, Mama? I'm just being gay on the pod.
Of course you're being gay, but you have to because God is gay all the time.
And all the time, God is gay.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you all so much for listening to today's service. And as always, thank you to our music minister, Brother Sam, for creating that beautiful piece of music that is our intro and outro.
And if you are a visitor with us today, if you don't mind hitting that subscribe button and rating us 5 stars wherever you're listening, and if you love the show next week when you come back, why don't you bring a friend?
And remember, God is gay all the time.
And all the time, God is gay.